Hello, my name is Sonnet. I like to talk about books, I like to talk about crochet, and all things crafty. And in today's video, we're going to be combining all three. Yes, it is the long-awaited Iron Flame book review, all of the crochet projects that I made and Cricut crafts that I made inspired by the book. All links and time codes are listed down below. We will be diving into the crochet and Cricut craft projects, but first I do need to talk about my feelings about Iron Flame. Now, this is the second book in the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros, so with it being the second book, naturally, there's gonna be spoilers, especially if you have yet to read Fourth Wing. So when I read Fourth Wing, I actually read it over the course of like 2 days. My husband was on a fishing trip, so it was the perfect weekend to just sit in bed and read all weekend long, and I absolutely loved this book. I gave this book 5 stars. I thought it was amazing. Iron Flame did come out in November, and I got it on the day that it came out, but I ended up not reading it until December. But this one did take me a little bit longer to get through. This one took me maybe about a month to read. I mean, it's not a short read by any means, but it just took a little bit longer. Overall, I really enjoyed this one. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars, so it's not quite perfect to me. I didn't like it as much as Fourth Wing, but I still really enjoyed it. And the main reason why, those dragons. The reason I love this series so much is the dragons are absolutely incredible. Tairn is my favorite character. Oh my gosh, I love Tairn. I would do anything for Tairn. And Darna is absolutely wonderful. And I really have this thing for Scale too. I think Scale is so cool and intense and interesting. Not to mention Solus. Solus was like a powerhouse on the page. Oh my gosh. Every time Solus was there, I was terrified. I was gripped. I'm like, holy cow, what's gonna happen now? What is this mad dragon going to do next? It was pretty terrifying at times. All of the interrogation scenes with Varish too, yikes. Talk about a panic attack. Also, this is gonna be kind of weird. I love Brennan as a character. I think Brennan could easily be my favorite character in the whole series. He didn't have as much to do in this book as I thought he was going to. I know he's busy with council stuff. I wanted more Brennan. I think that he could be very, very important to the story. And I think his story is just really fascinating, and hopefully get to see a lot more Brennan in the third book as well. But I do have a couple of issues with this book. The first being the pacing. So I feel like the pacing on this one was a little bit off compared to Fourth Wing. There were times where I couldn't put this one down. I was like, wow, this is the ride of my life. And then there were times where I couldn't get more than 10 pages in without falling asleep. Maybe it was because it was during the holidays and I was sleep deprived, and you know how stressful the holidays can be. I don't know if that had something to do with it or if it was the pacing of this book, but I did feel like it was a little bit off. And I'm so sorry for what I'm about to say, but one of the things I liked the least about this book is the emphasis on Violet and Xaden's lack of communication throughout the whole book. I love them together. I love each of them individually as characters. I am rooting for them. I think their story is very romantic, but I don't find the lack of communication very romantic. It was fine for a little bit, but then we're halfway through the book and they're still not telling each other things. They are together, they aren't together. Who knows? 3/4 of the way through the book, they're still hiding things. They're still not talking about things. It was a little too much of that. I just wanted to scream while I was reading, just talk to each other, just have a conversation. But again, that doesn't make for very good dramatic reading, does it? Overall, I love this book. I'm going to be reading it again. I'm curious about maybe getting into the audiobooks of these. I did read both of my hardbacks just in bed, but I think a audiobook reading is in order just because I love them so much. If you haven't yet and you want to read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, I highly recommend you do so. They are so wonderful, they're thrilling, they're brutal, and the dragons are the best. For the craft projects that I made inspired by Iron Flame, I'm gonna go ahead and throw on my Basgiath sweatshirt that I made. So I found this SVG file on Etsy, and here you can see it does say Basgiath in the collegiate font, and you have War College down here, a flyer die, and then the little filigree thing. And I saw this SVG file and I just had to make a sweatshirt out of this. I might do a black one as well. Ooh, can you imagine a black sweatshirt with the Basgiath design in white vinyl? Amazing. So this is heat transfer vinyl that I cut out on my Cricut and then pressed onto the sweatshirt. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. We have our cool Basgiath sweatshirt. And that is not all when it comes to the Cricut crafts. Oh no, I did have to make a shirt as well. So this one doesn't say anything. It just has some of this leafy filigree type of thing. You have the dragon in the middle there, and then like some moons and stars. I don't know. There was a sun up here, but for whatever reason, my HTV just was like, nah, we're not doing that. So it doesn't say fourth wing or anything on there, but still dragons, right? I also did make this "If it involves dragons, count me in" project bag. So this is done with infusible ink. Again, cut it out on my Cricut, heat pressed that infusible ink into the cosmetic bag. And then we have this really fun Notion bag or project bag if it's a small, tiny, mini crochet project. Or you know what? I could even carry around all of my pencils and things if I'm reading the third book. If it involves dragons, count me in. Then I also did make a bookmark. Now I was originally going to use this design here as vinyl to put on this little pint glass thing, but it was just way too detailed for my Cricut to cut. I had a lot of vinyl casualties trying to find something to go on a cup. I really wanted to have a iced coffee fourth wing cup, and the set of PNGs that I got that this comes from, they're just too detailed to be cut on my Cricut unless they were gigantic. These PNGs would definitely be more suited, I would say, for sublimation and things, but since I don't do sublimation, we decided to print it out, put it on a bookmark. It will go here in my Iron Flame book that I have ready to be used once that third book in the series does come out. So I also did decide to make a nice little framed print for my little bookcase area. Now this is not artwork that I personally did. Again, I wanted to put this on a shirt. I wanted to put this on a mug. All of these like little lines and things, too much. Can you imagine weeding this thing? Oh, once I thought about it, I was like, wow, I saved myself a ton of time. I love it. You have Tairn here. You have the little Andarna. I love that it does have his Morningstar tail. And then of course, all of the books. So although I wanted this to be something wearable or a glass or things, I still think it is nice as a print. It's gonna look perfect in my little bookshelf corner that I have. So those were all of my Cricut craft projects, but let's go ahead and get into the crochet project because holy cow, I'm really excited to talk about this. But I did crochet my very own Tairn. He took me forever. I started crocheting him in December and I finally finished him earlier this week. It was pretty crazy. So this is the Dusk the Dragon pattern by Lyra Loon Designs. Lyra Loon Designs are so incredible. They are so detailed. They are so whimsical and fantastical and just amazing. So I did crochet the pattern pretty much exactly as it was written, but I did change a couple of things about my Tairn. The original dragon does have a belt that I decided to leave off. I just didn't want the belt on Tairn here. I thought like this armor scale thing was absolutely perfect and all he needed. In the pattern, there's also an adornment for the horn, but I really went back and forth to whether I was going to include that jewelry or not, but I decided to skip it because I don't believe the book mentions anything about him having jewelry. I might add it later. I don't know. Would you add that jewelry if you crocheted him? And then also I did change his tail. So Tairn is known as a Morningstar tailed dragon, and I needed to put the Morningstar on there, but let's just use our imagination that it's covered in spikes. Yeah, I couldn't be bothered to crochet all of these spikes for his tail. By the time I got to the tail, I was just, a little overwhelmed with this pattern. I do highly recommend Liralune's designs if you are a intermediate to, I would say, advanced crocheter and amigurumi maker, and you understand the amount of time and work that's going to go into these patterns. This is not a sit down and crochet something up in the afternoon pattern, and really not many of their patterns are. They are very detailed. They are constructed in a way that makes them so unique and just a work of art. So Tairn is an all black dragon, but I thought crocheting him in all black was just going to be really boring. I didn't think I was going to have a lot of fun. I didn't think you could see a lot of these amazing details that this dragon really has if he was all black. So that's why we have the dark grays, the lighter grays, the blacks, and then of course the dark blues. He also does have golden eyes in the book, so I had to give him his intense golden stare. Now, I really did struggle with my tension on this project simply because it was a lot of crocheting. I was a little bit stressed. It was a lot. So there are a lot of spots where the stuffing is kind of popping through. I typically really dislike that look, but I'm trying to look past it. Not every Ami is going to be perfect. And Tairn is described as having scarred wings and just really rough around the edges type of dragon. He's not a very pristine dragon at all. So I do feel like a lot of his little imperfections that he might have really do add to that kind of scarred, grungy type of shell that Tairn definitely does have. I'm so happy that I crocheted this, even though it was quite the process and he was a little much at times. I'm so proud that I did it. I'm proud that I finished it, and we did it. We crocheted our Tairn. But that's it. That's all of the projects that I made inspired by the book Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. Now, please let me know your thoughts on this book, or let me know if there's any books that you would like me to read and then make crocheted and Cricut projects to. But that's it for me today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of January and February and whatever time you might be watching this. Thank you for being so wonderful. I love you so much, and I will see you all a little later. Bye.